Hello and come back. Today is gonna be about tests, templating, multi-threading, and logging in Python. Those modules or login modules maybe. Those modules are really useful in Python or any other let's say programming language or functionalities or software or anything. Let's say here we do some quality control, and it's just to do a lot with tests. So here we have, okay, we have some values, we compute this stuff. This is a doc string, tells you what's happening, and we can actually import this doc test and test those from the doc test. Okay, and here we can check, okay, attempted 1 failed 0. So here we say, okay, we return, this is the average, and we return this kind of average. If we do something like, okay, we do some kind of error in our implementation, it will quite say, okay, you have a test failed, and it doesn't return this value, it returns some other value. You got this weird value and you were expected this 45. So you just insert your let's say your expected test results in this doc test. So it can be really, it can come in really handy. I have also some unit tests. Like this is the doc test method, doc test package and module. Here it's the unit test module, and here we can use some we use, for example, this class, and for us we'll be mostly interested in those lines where we have not set equal, we have just average should be equal 1, and we assert equal this amount of average should be equal to this one, and we kind of say, okay, if it's not happening, what is happening, and here they say, okay, this test has run and everything was okay. So if we have something that is let's say we are here, you can see that we are always using this average function. If we do something like +1 as well, here it fails, and of course here it will definitely fail. So here your outputs, you have a failure, we have failure 1, the average is not good, and the assets value is not good. This is for the test, doc test, and unit test. If they ask you in some kind of interview or for unit testing, this is mostly what you do in unit testing. So you test each functionality in a very unitary way. You can test like boundaries, you can test a lot of you can quite use it quite frequently. I have maybe some project reference, since I talk mostly also about references. For example, let's say this project, and here you can have, there is a testing, a really quite straightforward testing library. Here you can see that with one test you can really test a lot of files, and if you would like some real life examples, I will leave it in here. Okay, I guess everything should be fine now. And here we can do some, we have some output formatting. Like before we have done some basic wrapper, let's say outputs. Here we can do even better. Like here we can say, okay, we have some other stuff. This is too much, and we can just say, okay, wrapper.lib representation of the set of this is something and something else. So it can be really handy sometimes when you want just to yeah, just to summarize data or not have too much output. Sometimes you have too much output. Let's say we had some in the earliest, yeah, here for example, in the earliest things we had a lot to do with the with text. For example, we can just put it in here and yeah, and have something like this. Okay, I don't want the whole input, I just want, for example, to know and locate something where it is, or even in the help, let's say here, like here, this huge list there, for example, like, okay, you can have this kind of, okay, I have this one, this second one, this third one, and I have other ones. So it gives you those first things, these first values, and not the rest. It comes pretty handy instead of having a huge input sometimes. Let's just take it out. Okay. Here we have the preprint function, which is also amazingly used. I use it always. Like you want, let's say you want to print this this dictionary or this object. Here, if you do print, you will print it on one line, which is really not helping to see the indentation. But you can do the preprint, and you can like see it in a very object manner where you can see a lot of things. You can use also the text wrap library, which can wrap your text to how many characters you want them to be wrapped to, just 50 for example, and you will have 50, 30. If you like writing poems or want to put some poems in a very nice way, or it can have, like text wrap can have some utility. Next would be templating. So yeah, of course I will use templating, all those let's say functionalities that are useful in these cases. So let's say we can create templates in Python this way in the string module, and we can create them as this. We create them in this line. So this is a template with this $sign, and let's say if you want actually to have the dollar, you do double dollars. So here you can have double dollars, you have your dollar, and here you can have dollar codes. It's quite like in the terminal. Sometimes in terminal you with dollar you bash coding, not terminal but bash coding, like this $sign is for variables, and here you can substitute whatever in whatever. So substitute village, the village codes, blah blah blah, and you have like something like this. Each folks send these two codes. Templates, you can have templates. Okay, yes, of course. So here we have like item to owner, and here the dicts of item. So we have a dictionary of item, but we don't have actually the owner. So here we have the substitute method. We don't have owner, but we can have also the save substitute. It gives us an error, this one. And we have the save substitute, and we can just save substitute whatever in this. Or just here we can, instead of having this, can do, we give it like nothing, and here we do something like save substitute. And this how it would look like. And yeah, something I didn't mention, it's in templates, it's either use this one, these curly brackets, or you don't use them. It will depend on you. It will depend on the situation you are dealing with. So here this is safe substitute. Next forward, there is the time and the path. Like you want to batch rename, and you can, like, this is a use case for templates. You have to rename all this stuff, and you can rename them in this way. And let's say I want to rename them, okay, travel, let's say Hungary or something. And here you can just batch name them. Oh no, actually no. The name style, yeah, it would be like travel Hungary, and here you put travel Hungary. Let's say here you put the name, since we take the name, date and format. You can take name. Name is no, it's number of sequence, not name. Sorry. You put the number of sequence. You put here like the date if you want, and you put here the format. It would be something like enter rename time. Yes, and normally we would have the yeah. Here we have the formats, and here we can check them out. And here we can have like okay, and of course can do some okay, travel Hungary, let's say it's number and sequence, date, and format. So you can use actually these things. Of course, yeah. Stack. Say okay here, or just this way. Got login a bit. Okay, so screen output. Okay, talk. Hit this one. Here, talk. Here we do this, and here we can just remove this day and just the number of sequence and the format, yeah, and you would have something like this. This image is this, and it should be totally fine. Something really interesting in this standard library is the multithreading. So you can actually, it's a programming concept. It's to have asynchronous, I would say, access to and processing. Let's say you want to access. Let's say you want. Let's see in this one, for example, it's an async zip. We want to do some compression asynchronously. So here we really, if we want to do something asynchronously, we have to, let's say, inherit from this threading thread class, and also it has to have a threading thread init. So here we are doing this asynchronous zip, and we are running this. This is the method, and we run the zip, we zip in this method, and here we say, okay, you know what, we want in the background, we want to assign, we want to do, we want to zip this in this, and we start, and okay, we have the main program continues to run in the foreground, and we have also background to join when, and here you can wait for the background tasks to finish, and here after that this line will wait till this finish. Actually, that's the thing. Instead, what's happening is that we can start the program of compressing whatever, and here we say, okay, the main program here we can continue to run in this program, for example. That can take a lot of time. For example, that's why this multi-threading is really important. It's sometimes your program is, let's say you want to compress a lot of files, and with that as well you want to do some other things. Instead of waiting that all your files are being compressed, you can execute this snippet of code, and maybe after this, let's say after this, you want to make sure that this part of code is done synchronously. This is async, synchronously, and you want this part of code done after actually both of the programs have been executed, then after both executed. So this is how to synchronize and your code, and we call it like multi-threading. It's like I would like explain it just with this example. If you want to learn more about it, I would recommend really to brush up a bit on the programming, the programming basics. But this is how mostly it works. Sometimes you want to have we in programming language would say some concurrent access to either some let's say resource or whatever. That sometimes can take a lot of time. Like for example, it can be really used in scrapping data. For example, scrapping data. Let's say to scrap a website, if you do it like sequentially without and not multi-threading it, let's say you will wait every time till the page loads and getting the data and extracting the data. And like in this program, I would say like there is some bottleneck. For example, if you have some internet issue or you have some fast internet or whatever, if you do it sequentially, these three steps, I would say that it will take a lot of time. That's what I experienced. And for example, one of the solutions to make it really fast is to do it with concurrence, with concurrency and with threading, and I got really fast results, and to do it like synchronously. And also like consuming, for example, the links instead of doing it sequentially, it's both to do them like it has a lot to do. There are some. I will just do some opening for later search from your side if you would like. There is the concept of having workers, and those threads you can open like workers on each thread. Each thread can be associated. That's this threading. It can be associated to a worker, and those workers can go do the job independently from the program. Like you would start them in the background, and they do whatever, and later when they all have done their job, you can do whatever. So this is basically this concepts of threading. So also if you're preparing for some job interviews or you're looking for a job, it should be a topic of question. Next would be the login. It's a really important library in Python, and you can have many levels of login. You have a debug login, an info login, a warning login, an error login, and a critical login. And here you can see that it started from more warning till error and warning, error and critical. But it didn't log the debug and info. You can set like login level or something like this at debug level, and you would have all the logins. And this is also very quite useful, let's say, module in Python. And with this, I would have finished this episode, and see you for the next one. Thank you.